Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Bootcamp number 5, how to find the perfect host for your live shopping event. I'm Marissa, I'm a content creator here at Spree, and today's episode is really special because we've got not one, but two guests joining us today. But before we get into today's topic, I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. So if we could go to today's slides. So yeah, our topic today is how to find the perfect host for live shopping, but I want everyone to know that we do have some people, we have some producers here in the background who are going to be attending to all, there we go. Yay. So yeah, if you do have a question or a comment at any point today in today's webinar, then please just drop them in the comments and we'll get straight to that. So let's go to the next slide. Our first question today though is, where are you watching from? We always do this. We always like to know where people are watching from, especially because Spree is such an international company. So we do have people watching from all over the world, and it's always really interesting to hear where people are watching from. Next slide. Yes. Yeah, so drop your questions in the comments. And let's get to a quick recap of why today's episode is so special, because this is the final episode in our Bootcamp series. So if you remember way back in August, I think last year, we started this Bootcamp series, and that was Live Shopping 101. So when everyone who was watching was kind of a beginner, the idea was to take you from that very, very beginning, like just learning about live shopping, all the way through to today, where hopefully you feel a little bit more like a live shopping expert. That's why we're talking about a very, very important topic, which is finding the right host for your live shopping show. So yeah, if you followed us all the way, thank you for sticking with us throughout these 5 episodes. Yay. But I'm just going to go back. What I do want to do first now is introduce our 2 very special guests. So they are Marcy KcKenna from the Live Shopping Academy. There's Marcy. And we also have Anja, who is a live shopping host from Ecooking. Hi guys, how are you going today?
I'm going to good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm just excited to get started. But before we do get into the questions, I just wanted to ask you both to tell a little bit about yourselves, because I think that's nice so that everyone gets a little bit of backstory. So Marcy, how about we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your history with live shopping.
Sure. Yeah, I come to the live shopping space with sort of a unique perspective, because I am both a brand and I'm 3 different things, actually. I am a brand, so I have my own product line, and that product line is on HSN, Home Shopping Network in America, and I've been there for about 10 or 12 years, something like that. So have been guest hosting on HSN and then previously on QVC as well. So that's one piece of the pie there. And then I also do represent other brands. And so whether it's on Amazon Live or Pinterest TV or Facebook Live or Instagram Live, I do host in the world of live shopping. And then the third element is that I'm the founder and CEO of the Live Shopping Academy, because I found through this live shopping journey of mine that, again, goes back about 10 or 12 years, that so many people are really intimidated by the thought of going live, yet they understand the power of it from a brand perspective and the need to go live. And because, it's been not the straightest path for me learning live shopping, there's been lots of ups and downs and trial and error. And I thought, if I can create some sort of a school of sorts where I can help train people to go live and, know the kind of equipment that they need, know how to engage with an audience, lighting, all of that, then why not? So that's been sort of a passion project of mine. So I'm really excited to be here today to share my thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, I'm actually very certain we're going to get deeper into some of those points that you just brought up now. But let's go over to Anja from Ecooking. Could you tell us a little bit about your background? Who are you and what is your journey with live shopping?
Yeah, as you said, I'm working with the Danish skincare brand Ecooking, where I am the responsibility for our customer service and also now from our live shopping. So I started as a live shopping host a little bit over a year ago, where I just jumped right in front of the camera and just rehearsed a lot, so I could really use some of Marcy's help and guides before I jumped in. well, you just learn as you go. And for me, it's key to know the product well and just feel confident in the knowledge you have in the product that you're selling. So yeah, that's my way in front of the camera and in terms of all these live shoppings.
Absolutely. It'll be very interesting to hear these two very different perspectives. But let's jump in. Let's go back to our slides and jump into today's main topic, because our topic is we're looking at how to find. So where do I look? What path do I take? How do I get started with finding a live shopping host? And basically, we've condensed it down into these 3 main areas that you can look to find your live shopping host. And they are internal, external, and influencer. Now, if this doesn't make much sense to you right now, that is okay, because that is why we have our experts on board to tell us about this. So let's start with the first area, which is internal. So we're looking for our live shopping host internally. So let's just say you are a business or a company and you want to start live shopping, and one of the most logical places to start is your own team. Yeah. So Anja, I thought I'd bring you in first for this, because you worked at Ecooking, but then you also became the live shopping host at Ecooking. So could you tell us a little bit about that process? How did it happen? And any sort of stories that you might have about that journey that you went on?
Yeah, well, of course, it started with the major knowledge that I have in the products and the fact that I'm not afraid of standing in front of the camera, which is key to hosting those lives, because you can know the product inside out, but if you're afraid to stand in front of the camera, if you feel uncomfortable, you're not gonna sell, or you're not gonna go through the camera as positive as you want it to be, and it's gonna be awkward, and the viewers won't get the same results. So you need to be confident in your knowledge, and you need to have a great product inside out knowledge. So since I'm head of our customer service, then I normally know what the customers are asking, what do we not tell enough about our products, or what can we tell even more about the products. So I have that insight, and that made it like the obvious choice, I think. And I'm not afraid to talk to the customers as well. So that's just the keys that I know. Pernille, that's first of all asked me to stand in front of the camera and just talks about the product. That's why she asked me as well. And then we also had Niklas, a former colleague of mine. He just likes to have fun, and he's not afraid of the camera, and he's just like to Google around and be funny. So we have a nice sidekick for that co-work and co-host as well. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can feel that coming through, that there's a good sort of relationship between the people on camera. That definitely comes
exactly.
through. Yeah.
Yes, that's key.
Let's look at the second area that we have here. Let's look at the idea of external. So finding a host externally. Let's say that you're a company and you want to find someone else that is not from your company. This is where I wanted to bring Marcy a little bit into the conversation, because that is sort of your specialization. Let's talk a little bit about getting a host from outside of your company. What are some of the pros and cons, I guess, of that?
Sure. Well, I'm actually a big proponent of internal when it can work. And on this point, I mean, she knew the product, she was comfortable with it, she'd been speaking with customers. So to me, one of the greatest qualities that you look for in a host is somebody that is authentically passionate about your product, your brand, and also about the customer. But that passion is really, really important. And then also that knowledge. And of course, knowledge can be taught. So when we're speaking about external, because I find in the Live Shopping Academy that it is about, I'm trying to steer people a little bit more toward the internal, because I find that the authenticity is so much greater when it is internal. But again, to Anja's point, not everybody's comfortable going live in front of the camera. So sometimes it can be challenging to find that. But I do find that internally, when you find someone that's at least willing to try, that once they do it and then they do it a few more times, they get over this hump, and then it becomes very, very fun and comfortable and authentic. But looking on the outside, there are hosts that are professionally trained to do this. And so can you hire someone like that? Absolutely. And we can even spill into the influencer space. It kind of overlaps a little bit.
Yeah,
but what's really important is that they authentically align with your brand and your brand voice. So many times there's this obvious kind of disconnect where you feel like the host, isn't like the customer and isn't like the brand. And there you can tell that they're hired.
You can feel it.
Is if you're going external, really spend some time seeking out the right fit that is a very sort of organic fit.
Which brings us then, because as you mentioned, Marcy, there is an overlap between external and influencer, but I think the same rule applies. Like, you have to be careful about who you decide to choose externally to represent your brand. But let's talk a little bit now about influencers, because I think you both have something to say about this. Firstly, what is the difference between an external presenter and working with an influencer? I'm going to leave that open. Who would like to jump in and answer that one?
I'll jump in because I have a lot of experience in this space when I'm dealing with brands. In the beginning, when I first started the Live Shopping Academy, most brands that I was dealing with wanted an influencer because they saw the numbers. And they thought, well, if I get an influencer, I'm automatically going to have this huge audience that's going to translate to sales. But the reality is it's kind of backfired. That what we're finding and this isn't true for every influencer at all, but for the most part, influencers were used to taking those pretty pictures and, these staged things, but that's very different than being able to authentically connect with an audience and create those add to cart moments. If your KPI is to actually convert and sell product, to be able to connect in such an authentic way that the customer is trusting you and actually making that purchase, that there's a lot to that. And what we're finding is many influencers aren't equipped to do that. Some are, but that's something to really be mindful of, to not be wowed by the numbers, because if it's not, if those numbers don't align with your brand, then you're spending a lot of money on an influencer who may not translate.
Yeah, you could have 1 million followers, and if they don't connect with your key audience, then what's the point?
Yeah, and if they're not strong buying followers, then you can reach out to a lot of people, but you don't end up with the results that you hoped for. So it's important not just to look at the influencer, but also look at who is her or his followers, and are they strong buying, or what kind of followers do the influencers have, and what do you gain of these followers?
And I think the good news for brands is that what we're finding is that it's the micro and nano influencers that are really converting much better than the big macro. So it's a more affordable strategy to go micro and nano, and it's typically translating much better as well.
Maybe, Marcy, on that, maybe for some of our viewers who aren't familiar with these terms, what exactly do we mean by nano influencer, micro influencer versus what we just all understand as influencer?
Yes. Well, macro, starting there, is the big ones. This is the Kim Kardashian of the world.
Yeah. What do you think of when you think of influencer?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the big ones. And so they're a fortune. And will they bring the big audience? Yes, they will. But, again, does it align with your brand and your brand voice and all of those things? Micro and nano, and I'm going to forget the exact numbers now. I want to say that nano is 10,000 followers and below. And micro, I could have this backwards. Micro is about 10,000 to 50,000, something like that. So it's basically correlates to the number of followers, really.
And what are the pros? Like, if I'm a small business and I want to work with a nano influencer, should I aim for the smallest possible but biggest impact influencer, or should I aim for a micro one? What is the best practice for this?
I wouldn't even look at the numbers. I would be looking at who's the person that will best represent my brand and best with the people that are following my brand, or that are a good fit for my brand. That's
Anja?
It has to be a person that's on brand, because otherwise you would have this class and this collaboration, and you won't be able to reach the followers or the viewers that you want to reach, and you don't end up by selling what you want to sell, and you don't want you don't end up with the loyal followers for your own brand.
What about Ecooking? How do they work with influencers? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we actually both use an external or and an influencer, but it's two persons that we have as ambassadors. So we just know that we already check that they are aligned with our brand.
Yeah.
We have an influencer we use mostly for our makeup line. She is so good at showing tips and tricks and how to use the makeup in certain ways and find new trends and stuff like that. And then we have a Danish TV host who was our ambassador just from the beginning, and people love her, and she is a very natural girl, and that aligns very much with our brand. And we use her more like an how can I say, more in a joyful, more like in fun way. So we get it more down to earth and go to Tina, our founder's bathroom, and have a talk at the bathroom, doing the skin routine together and stuff like that. So that way we more some, fun, down
it's
to earth.
It's more personal and more intimate, because it's like, you know, in their bathroom, and if they feel comfortable being together, that translates to the absolutely. Yeah, nice.
Yes.
Let us go back to our slides. So we did talk about these three big topics, but I did want to dig a little bit deeper into some more specific questions. So the first one that I have here is the idea of solo hosting versus co-hosting. Now, there's a bunch of different things we could go into here, but first I wanted to just ask an open question. What are the pros and cons of solo hosting versus co-hostings? And I'm going to put this straight onto you, actually, Anja. What do you think about the pros and cons of going solo versus co-hosting?
I definitely prefer a co-host. I think it gives a more dynamic mention for the live shopping, because you have someone at Ecooking. We use mostly me for a product specialist, and then I would have a co-host for the more technical stuff. How do you shop? Get in line with the time. If we have any, I just need the English word. If we have some competitions during the live and something like that, and then we have someone to make sure that all these technical things are moving a line, and then I'm just focusing on telling about the product and stuff like that, and teaching how to use the product in the right ways, and how to combine products and stuff like that. So I'm definitely more for a co-hosting. It's a lot of if people should stay for like an hour just to hear me talk, it's going to be a long hour. But if we're two, we have this dynamic, and we can have some fun moments, and have a little ping pong with each other and stuff like that. That's way more efficient in our experience.
Yeah. What about you, Marcy? What do you think? What do you think are some of the pros and cons of solo versus co-hosting?
I do both of them. So I definitely see both sides of them. I tend to agree with Anja. I think it's so much more fun to play when you can find that great charisma between two hosts, and you can banter a little bit and play off of each other. I think it is a lot of fun for the audience. And I host a weekly, or I co-host a weekly live shopping series with my co-host, Greg Roulette is his name. And we have so much fun. And I think it's so much fun for the audience. So I really love that when you can make that work. But again, it's not easy to find that kind of connection between hosts where it can be that much fun and that authentic. And so when you find it, it's magic. And it's like, it's this dance that happens. In the live shopping, the traditional live shopping space in America, QVC and HSN, it very much is that co-host kind of situation. And again, to Anja's point, there are two very distinct roles there, where the person working for HSN or QVC is really in charge of talking about the price and the discount and the, really driving home the sale. And the guest who's representing the brand is more the expert on the product itself and doing the demos. And so it is very distinct roles. When it comes to solo hosting, that's a challenge in that for someone to be able to carry a show for an hour or a half an hour and really be able to connect with the audience and keep them engaged throughout is difficult. And that's where when we talk about, can an influencer do that? Sometimes they can, but typically they're not used to doing that. So it's more challenging, I think, to find a great solo host than it is co-hosts. But I think as a co-host, it's important to be able to, on occasion, do that if you need to, because there are going to be times when the two aren't there to play off of each other.
That was one of the points of this webinar today, was to show like all the different possibilities, because you may end up in a company may end up in a situation where they do have to host by themselves. That's why we kind of wanted to dig into all the different possibilities of live shopping hosting.
So you can't do it alone, but I think you just need to make sure that you end up entertain the audience all the way through by yourself. Yeah, that's a very good key that Marcy said. Yes.
Yeah, because we are going to get into personality, because I think that is something that plays a big part in if you're being a solo host. But let's dig into our next question. We have here, what does it mean to be a good live shopping host? Now, here we've put good in inverted commas because we know that good is very subjective. So also we have a very different idea of what constitutes live shopping. So I wanted to bring these different international perspectives that we've got going on today about what it means to be a good live shopping host. I'm going to go to you, Marcy, because I know that you've probably you've spoken to many people in your career. So you've got a good sort of cross section to answer this question. What can you tell us about good versus bad live shopping hosts?
It's a great question, and it's something that's important for brands to define before they start looking for a good live shopping host. But in my experience, a good live shopping host is someone that is engaging and authentic and can really look into a camera and make the person on the other side of the camera feel important and feel special in this sort of party that they're hosting, that they're inviting the guest into, and can speak directly to them and engage with them throughout. And then equally important, what I have found just on a personal perspective is that someone that can spend the time to be prepared. So someone that is knowledgeable and prepared, because so many times the live shopping segment can really go off the rails if there's no preparation there, and someone on the other side can feel like they're just sort of wasting their time, and that's when you lose them, and that's when they switch channels, so to speak. So I think that pre-show preparation is really important, that you do have a run of show, if you will, that there is sort of a flow that's designed for the show, and that you have prepared the knowledge about the product or whatever it is that you're hosting the segment about, so that when you are engaging with the customer, if they have questions, that you have the knowledge to respond effectively. And also that, when someone is knowledgeable, it's so much easier to be engaged because you want to learn from them, and they sort of position themselves in an authoritative way, and so you come away with some knowledge by having been there with that host.
I think that kind of what I'm hearing is kind of you're building a bit of trust with your audience, because I don't want to buy from someone who doesn't understand their own product. That sort of makes me feel distrustful of that person, right? Yes. So I think trust and knowledge. Anja, what about you? What would you say are some of the main characteristics of a good live shopping host?
I agree with Marcy. That is key elements, that you need to be down to earth, authentic, likable, and then you need to be comfortable in front of the camera. Because I don't think you're building that trust if you feel uncomfortable in front of the camera. You can know, as I said before, you can know the product inside out, but if you feel uncomfortable, then you won't be trustworthy at the end. So that is very key for me and for when we are looking for a live shopping host, that it is someone that is comfortable. I have asked our copywriter 1,000 times if you want to join me at our live shopping, because I know she is a likable person. She can talk to everybody. She knows the product inside out. But when it comes to standing in front of the camera, she just blanks out, and she's like, no, I don't want to. And then it won't be a good experience for her or the viewers.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll dig more into that, because I think that that's a topic that has come up quite a few times in some of our other webinars, about people feeling scared in front of the camera. But so I think the takeaway here from this question was that you do need to be someone likable. You do need to know the product, because if you don't know the product, that will create distrust, and no one's going to buy a product of someone who's like, oh, I don't even know what this is. So yeah, those are really good points.
Yeah, and you just have to be confident in yourself, and don't be afraid to make any mistakes, because I can drop a product, or I can the words are floating out of my mouth sometimes and just stumble over each other, but that's okay, because that's just me, and I'm down to earth, and I make mistakes just like everybody else.
Exactly, that's part of the authenticity.
I think when those moments happen, it makes it way more fun for the audience. Or like, oh, they're just like us, and that just makes it a more fun, relaxed experience for everybody. And so I think just go with it, and you make fun of yourself or whatever you need to do, because it's the reality, and I think people are looking for that real, authentic connection.
Exactly. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people when I don't want to watch someone uncomfortable on camera. It's not a nice experience for them or for me. So yeah, I think that is a really strong point. Great. Okay, let's go to our next question. Oh yeah, this is one that I really wanted to hear about, which is your routine as a live shopping host. So imagine someone came to you and was like, I need you to tell me everything that I need to do just before I go live. What is your, what do I have to do? And this, we've spoken before, you said, I think Marcy mentioned about being prepared. So what does that mean? What does it entail to be prepared? So if you could talk a little bit about your typical routine before you go live, before you do a live. Marcy, did you want to start on this one?
Sure. Yes, I have prepared, sort of out of necessity, a checklist, if you will, of a sort of that foolproof checklist and I really do have it posted in my studio, and I'll go through each thing, everything from there have been so many times in the past where my computer wasn't even plugged in, and I'm halfway through and I'm losing power, and I have to say, excuse me, and I go down and plug my computer in. So through all of that trial and error, I've developed my own checklist that I've got to go through, just to make sure all my ducks are in a row, even a speed check on my computer. But depending on what it is I'm hosting, for instance, my weekly live shopping where I have the co-host, we typically have 6 products that we feature, and from 6 different brands. And so for me, there's a lot of, it's really important to me to be prepared, to really represent that brand. And it's usually an independent inventor or a maker. So it's actually a person that I'm representing. And so I want to have deep knowledge, not only on the product, but on the story behind the product, and be able to kind of tell that story to our audience, and be able to, kind of be able to answer questions that come our way. Because for me, encouraging that chat and, really getting the audience going is what makes it so fun. And so I really do encourage those questions, and I need to be able to answer those. So I do have a whole sort of checklist in my head about what I want to know about each product before I go live. And then it's also taking each product, because I'm demoing them live, and before the camera goes on, actually making sure the price tags are off and making sure they're clean, and so that I'm representing somebody who put their heart and soul into this product, and I want to show it off in the best way I possibly can. So again, I've learned the hard way, because there have been times when products didn't look so good.
But I mean, it's such a good point, because these are things that you might not think of, but then when you're there, you're like, oh no, I wish I'd thought of this. But yeah, that's a really, really good point. What about you, Anja? What is your typical pre-live show routine?
Yeah, pretty much as what Marcy said. At Ecooking, we have what we call a master plan for the live. That is down to the minimum detail of the live, by minute actually. So we make sure that we have a theme for the live. We find these selected products. Sometimes we have 26 different kind of product that we are selling and teaching about. We often have incorporated some competitions or some GVPs as well from a partner or from ourselves. So normally we go through all these steps, and before the live, I will go through the list with my co-host, and we will do these cue cards together, just because then we can make sure where can we inject some fun, and where can we make sure that we are factual and more technical, ensuring a good dynamic through all of the lives. And there will be time where when we have this special list of specific products, then I can go down and see, okay, in terms of the theme, is there any ingredients I need to research more about and go deeper into, or is there any kind of product that we think that we need to talk more about than other products? And make sure that when we find the products, that they are perfectly in shape and not with a jaw with a crack on it and stuff like that, and cream all over, that it doesn't sell well. And so all these small steps, and we even have a list that says, okay, we need food for all the backstage people as well. So all these little steps all the way through, who takes care of customer service during the live and after the live, and how do we go the day after if we need to catch up from the live. So we also have a plan for the day after we go live. So we do a 360.
Wow. It sounds very thorough. It sounds like preparation really, really is key in that.
Definitely.
It's interesting that we have two live shopping hosts from two completely different sort of backgrounds, but you both share this one tool, which is to have some sort of checklist, because you just know that the more prepared you are before, the better your live is going to be once you hit that go live button.
And that is so true. That's such a good point. For me, once I had that unlock about how important it is to be prepared on every level, my shows became so much better, because this weight is lifted and you can relax and kind of enjoy the ride and be more engaging and fun, because you know everything is taken care of. You know there's a plan. And
so that is also key, to be comfortable in front of the camera. If you know every detail of what's going to be happening on the live, then you can relax and you can put your shoulders down. As Marcy said, you can just have fun and smile and engage with the viewers and ask questions and answering their question as well. So it's a key. The master plan, as we call it, is key for a perfect live.
I could not agree more, actually. Like, as someone who's new to this hosting game, I can say with a degree of experience that when everything is taken care of, you just feel so much more comfortable on camera. So very, very good, important point. But we do have some more questions. Let's go to the next one. I think this is the last one that we really wanted to dig into, which is recommendations for future live shopping hosts. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is a very big question, because you could say all sorts of things, but we sort of touched on the idea of learning to become a live shopping host. Can one learn to be good in front of a camera? Can one be trained to be good in front of a camera? And what are some of the tips that you guys might have for people who feel really scared about getting in front of a camera? Because this is something that we have heard from our customers, that like, we really want to do live shopping, but we just don't know who's going to get in front of the camera. So what sort of recommendations do you guys have for these situations? We'll go back to Marcy for this one. What are your recommendations?
Well, to answer your question about can someone be taught to be a good live shopping host? For the most part, I want to say yes to that, because what I'm finding in the Live Shopping Academy is that people that come in, that even I was thinking, gosh, I'm not sure if this one is going to be able to ever confidently go live or ever even want to go live at all. And within a couple weeks, they are, and they get more and more comfortable. So my biggest recommendation is to just start. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy. I mean, we're talking about a lot of preparation and things, but that's, Anja and I have been doing this for a while, and we're at the level of, because we've been through trial and error, we've learned the importance of that. But there's something to just going live, just starting and getting comfortable as you go. And that's really the key, is just the more you do it, and consistency is everything. It's everything for you, because you get better and better at it, but it's also everything for the customer, for your audience to know that every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, Marcy's going live. Whatever that is in your world, being consistent. And then by just practicing and just doing it, the comfort will come. And each time you're going to be more engaging, and you're going to figure things out as you go. And so it's really, in my opinion, it's just about starting.
Just jump right to it. Yeah, I would just say jump in front of the camera and just see what happens. For the most of it, you will have fun. I promise you will have fun, and there's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah, if you lose products on the floor, then you lose it, and then you laugh, and then you move on. Nothing big happening, and as long as you can laugh a little bit about of yourself, then everything is going to be fine. And if you know the product, you like that.
Anja, have you dropped some products before on the floor?
I'm sure I have, or I have wheeled around with them, or stumble off my feet or something like that.
Obviously.
And you survived, it's fine.
Yes, exactly. Or I've just say something that didn't make sense at all. I do that all the time. So I think that people are getting used to it when they see an Ecooking live.
And again, that makes it more fun for the audience, because it's just relaxed and easy, and you're like them and they're like you, and that's what typically works.
I think the worst you can do is put it up on a pedestal when you just print fear all over it. That's the worst thing you can do, because when you just stand there, it's not like you're in a theater and you have these 2,000 people standing right in front of you. You're talking to a phone or a camera, so you can't actually see the persons. You can probably see the numbers, but when you just breathe and then you forget about the numbers, and then you're just like, you're talking on your own, like Snapchat, or like just talking to your phone, like I think normally young people would do around the world these days. So it doesn't feel that much different than that.
So I mean, I think here what we can say is that practice makes perfect, but perfect doesn't even matter. So you just get in front of the camera, just kind of do it, and you'll eventually get that.
You're gonna have fun.
You're gonna have fun. Let's see are there any questions who've come in? Not yet. So that's okay. Cool. That was the end. Those were my 4 key questions. Were there any other points that you, Marcy or Anja, who you wanted to dig into a little bit more? Because if not, we'll start wrapping up.
I guess to me, what I have found over time hosting is that engagement with the audience, that chat, that, the back and forth, as opposed to feeling like you have to present to somebody, to this big audience. If you really are looking at the camera and thinking of that camera as one person, and you're just talking to that one person, then it becomes more comfortable, but it also feels so good on the other side of that camera to feel like, wow, I'm sitting down with this person and having coffee. It becomes like such a personal connection when you are engaging in the chat. And so I'm a huge fan of the live chat. That's probably my favorite part.
I like that. Imagine that there's just one person, like the camera is just a person that you're talking to.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Anja, any final thoughts?
No, I think like Marcy said, get the chat going, get the questions in, have a very good master plan, because you are going to relax so much more when you know every little detail of the plan and what's going to happen. And if you skip a product or two, you will wrap it up in the end, and then you will remember them there. So I think you will get it all the way around, and find a co-host that you have a good chemistry with, where you have a good dynamic, and you can ping pong. And if I forget something, I'm sure my co-host is going to remind me of it.
That's great. If I forget, they'll remember. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to our slides before we wrap up. Oh, yes. What's next? Okay, so this was our final episode in our bootcamp, but you will be getting an email with a recording of this, which you can watch on demand. But we do ask that you do one thing, which is to share it with someone who you think could benefit from the knowledge that that we have shared with all of you today. So if you know someone who's interested in live shopping or who is already live shopping and is struggling to find a host, please share it with them. But also, if you cannot get enough of the spree vibe, we have more things coming up. So we do actually have another webinar planned, which is in a completely different vibe. This webinar is about frequently asked questions. We're going to be digging into the top 10 most frequently asked questions that we get here about live shopping, and open it up to people to ask whatever question they want, whatever thing that they have, whatever little burning question they might have about live shopping. No question too unimportant to share. So that is the webinar to join if you have a question about live shopping. But before we say goodbye, I did want to give a personal goodbye to Marcy and Anja. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for sharing all of your knowledge. Particularly thank you to Marcy, who had to get up super early to join us today. So we appreciate the effort.
It is good for me. I'll have a very productive day now.
Excellent. I'm so glad. And Anja, thank you to you for jumping on to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And thank you to everyone who's been watching. It's been really great. I hope you've enjoyed our final episode of our bootcamp series. And I will definitely catch everyone next time. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.